After a year of going 3-9, wins are something that should be cherished. But not every win is the same. Not every win means the same for a program. On today's show, I'm going to tell you 3 wins that would mean the most to Boston College and their fan base in 2023.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On BC. I'm your host, AJ Black. Happy Monday, everyone. We are starting to get ready for Boston College summer camp as the 2023 season is just around the corner. And you're going to want to stick with Locked On BC for all your news and analysis as we continue on towards that NIU season opener. Now, on today's show, we're going to talk about wins. Now, going into the season, Boston College has been projected by Vegas and many of the online books for 5.5 wins. You know, you bet the over, they're going to be a bowl team. Under, we're talking something completely different. But going into the season, every win BC gets is obviously important. Whether it's beating an FCS team like Holy Cross or Maine, or beating a team like last year with top 25 NC State. Not every win, though, is built differently. Sometimes a win means more to the fans. Sometimes it means more to the program. And on today's show, I'm going to give you 3 games that I think wins here would be massive for the Eagles. We'll get into that. And then finally, on our last segment, I'm going to get into some one little talking point about a positional unit that has been completely disrespected by the media. And I'll get into that later on. Now, looking at the schedule, BC has the easiest schedule in the country, according to ESPN's FPI. They are, if you look at it, they get 4 out-of-conference games against non-FBS programs. They avoid Clemson. They avoid all of Tobacco Road. This should lead to a better season for the Eagles if they play better. And as we've said for the last 6-7 months, they have to. If they don't, we're talking about something completely different. And, really, really looking deeply at whether Hafley will be back in 24. But let's look at wins. Let's pretend, let's play out some different scenarios here on today's show about for the fans, say BC goes 7-5 next year. Let's just pretend, let's set that as the baseline for this discussion. They go 7-5. That's kind of like what the baseline is for a lot of fans to say that, okay, that's an okay season given the schedule. What are some wins that would still mean a lot to this program? And I'm going to give you 3. So let's start off with the first one. And that's on our screen right now. This would be the biggest win based off of difficulty that they're playing this season. And that's Florida State. Florida State going into this season is the darling of a lot of the polls. And rightfully so. They killed it in the transfer portal this past season. They're bringing back Jordan Travis, arguably the best quarterback in the conference. You could say Drake May, 1A, 1B, right? You're bringing back Jared Verse, arguably the best defensive end in the country. You stacked yourself up with transfers. You've got things rolling finally in terms of recruiting. You got Trey Benson, who's going to be a massive running back in the ACC, a big-time problem, and some of the best wide receivers in the country with Johnny Green and Keon Coleman from Michigan State. This is going to be a very good team, and you get them at home early in the season. Now, Jordan Travis just said in, I think it was The Athletic, just last week, that his favorite place to play is Alumni Stadium, and he gave his reasons why he likes it is because it's quiet. And I thought if you wanted locker room bulletin board material, that would do it right there. But if you're a fan of BC, we had a top 25 win last year, but NC State was still a hit or miss school, right? They had their moments, but they also struggled at times too. What would feel better for BC than to go out in early September and ruin Florida State's chance to make the playoffs? Because they're looking ahead to Clemson that week. I'm pretty sure Florida State gets Clemson the week after this. They're looking ahead. Their playoffs are bust. They want to win the ACC. What would be a better feeling for Boston College and their program than to not only beat a top 25 program, but beating a top 25 program that has the confidence and cockiness to think that they're, a top 5 team in the country. That, you would, if that was to happen, you would imagine if you beat Florida State, you would have already beaten NIU and probably in Holy Cross, right? You look at 3-0 and beating a top 25 team on Red Bandana Day, again, with that, like the magic that sometimes goes along with that. That would, I'm not going in any specific order. I'm choosing what games would be the best wins. But man, I think there's a lot of Boston College fans and the program themselves that would love to beat the Seminoles. It was only 3 years ago. I think it was the year before the pandemic that Florida State came in and they had that, they had their coach. Yeah. They had just fired Jimbo Fisher not Jimbo Fisher, Willie Taggart. And they had their temporary coach in, and I forget who it was. It might've been Jordan Travis, cut up Alumni Stadium to bring to their turf cemetery or whatever the heck that thing is called. And I thought that was, BC, what 6-6 that year? I thought that was a little much, but I think any win against the Noles would be a huge win for the program, right? E-Money Bags in our comment section on YouTube, if you're a part of it, check it out. Says, if BC beats Florida State, BC can play for the ACC championship. If BC starts the season off 3-0 by beating Florida State, which I don't think is going to happen, but I'm just talking it out, right? BC would then probably be favored against every other team on their schedule, minus maybe like Pitt or something like that. That's how crazy a win this would be. This would be a program changing win. Again, they're going to, if I'm guessing right now, they're going to probably be like 24-point underdogs in this game. I'm not a bettor, but I'm just saying that's probably what it'll be around. Now in our second segment, I'm going to give you 2 more. These ones are more realistic, and I'll tell you what they are and why they would be so important to Boston College. We'll get into that in just a moment. Now, eBay Motors is for a championship team. It's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay's guaranteed fit, you can be sure every part of you fits right. The first time around, just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Locked On BC, AJ Black. Thank you all for joining us. And for all of you everydayers, if you started to listen to Locked On BC every single day, thank you so much. We are back to 5 days a week. We're doing this every day now. So hit that subscribe button. We've got a month till the season starts. I'm going to have guests. I'm going to have predictions, all sorts of good stuff. You got to want to make sure you subscribe to Locked On BC on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So we're talking about games that would feel good to win. We talked about Florida State. Obviously, that would be a crazy win for BC. Probably the least likely win on their schedule. Another game that comes up right after Florida State is a team that, if you want to talk about the love that they're getting, they're probably 1B in the ACC. And I don't get it. I'm going to say that right now. And that's Louisville. Now, Louisville brought in Jeff Brom, who, has been I feel like he's been their coach in waiting for like 10 years now. When Scott Satterfield was hired, I thought it was going to be Jeff Brom the first time. And he's coming back. Now, when I look at the Cardinals, to me, it strikes me almost like a Colorado light. Like, how Colorado, basically Deion Sanders just basically excommunicated the whole 2022 Buffalo team and then brought in a bajillion transfers. I feel like Louisville hasn't done it to that extent, but it still, to me, seems like there is just a ton of turnover on that team that they brought in. They got their quarterback, Plummer. They've got, up and down the Storm Duck and the secondary. They've got new guys everywhere, and they're talented. I'm not going to say that they're not talented. It just, to me, when you have a team that's just thrown together like that, and they're all transfers from all different places, it's just a lot of variables, especially this early in the season, to have them get so much hype. And I mean, the hype for Louisville has been crazy too. At least Florida State's kind of earned it. They've got like the guys to do it. Louisville, to me, I saw Josh Pate, who is a video guy for 247, this company I work for, say that they're could be a surprise playoff team, and I almost choked. Like, that's the kind of stuff that they're getting right now. So just the same kind of comeuppance I would love to see Florida State get. At least Florida State kind of earned to get to the spot that they're at. I don't feel like Louisville's earned anything. And they haven't shown a darn thing. So to get in there nice and early and show them that they're still the Louisville Cardinals would still feel really nice, because I don't think they could absolutely turn things around. They've done a nice job on the recruiting trail, all that good stuff. I just feel like this year specifically, they're ripe for the taking. That BC could, they're going to head down to the, I don't even know if that is it Cardinal Stadium now. I know they changed the name of it. It was like Papa John's for a while, but he was disgraced or whatever. They head down there, they play them. It'll be tougher, but this will be another nice win for them. Any chance that Boston College gets to go in and show up a team that's getting hype, for me, is a good win for the program. When you're beating a team that's beaten you on a couple of recruiting pieces, like they've got a quarterback coming in next year that BC was high on and they lost to him, also very nice. So that's what I would put Louisville as number 2. Now, folks are going to be saying, why don't you put like UConn on here or Holy Cross or our rivals like Syracuse? Well, I was talking to Mitch Wolf about UConn, and we were both saying BC could beat UConn like 95-0 this year, and it still wouldn't wash away the stink from what happened last year. Like, you can, no matter what BC does to UConn, that win still just feels tainted. So I don't want to put that in there. Holy Cross, it's a win, so you don't put that in there. For me, Miami was like 3B. I almost had them up there because, again, beating a team with a lot of preseason accolades, and I hate the way they run their programs. Why don't I hate them? I kind of, especially, I mean, if you've heard what's going on with their biggest donor right now, go Google that, Miami donor. The other big game, the other big win is a bit of, it's a personal win, I think, for the program, and it'll be a personal win and a personal matchup for a lot of Boston College fans, and that's the game against Pitt. I think a lot of BC fans, and I'm sure he has it too, Phil Dracovic probably has this game circled on his schedule. He may say he doesn't, but I'm sure he does. I think he's playing Notre Dame this year too, so he gets both of them. But he gets to host the Eagles. This will showcase what we're hoping will be, for a lot of Boston College fans, the chance to show that indeed the Emmett Moorhead is the better quarterback at this point. Dracovic is going to have a much better team to play with this year. And the way he what he does with Frank Signetti, his old offensive coordinator, again, another matchup for BC, will be interesting to see. But it's going to be that matchup, Moorhead versus Dracovic. Everyone's going to talk about that. Can Moorhead go out there against a good Pitt defense, and will BC's defense be enough to stop Dracovic? Because I think with a better offensive line, Dracovic's going to be better. I think you're going to see a lot less of the mistakes when he's not picking himself off the turf every other play. I see a lot of folks getting hard on him, and I get it, but like, the dude got the snot kicked out of him last year. So I think this is a chance for him to showcase that. But for BC, what would feel better for the fans, for the program in November? Maybe even make it, this is your bowl win, the win that gets you to a bowl. You go down to Heinz Field and you defeat Phil Dracovic. For me, that would be the other big feel good win of the season. Now, I want you to pipe in. Head into the comment sections. Hit me up on Twitter. Tell me which wins you think would be the best wins. And don't just tell me every win would win because our team's terrible. Whatever you're going to say that's snarky. I want to hear what you think would be the biggest win of the season. for BC. Now, in our final segment, let's turn to disrespect. I'm going to look at one positional group for the Eagles that's been getting no respect, and I think it's kind of bogus. We'll get into why in just a moment. This is Locked On BC. I'm your host, AJ Black. Thank you all so much for listening. We're in camp mode here. Camp starts this week for the Eagles, and as an insider, I will be as many practices as I can get to. Now, just as for a reminder for folks that want to know, BC only opens camp practices for like 20, 25 minutes, and then they have their interviews after all the practice. In that minute, those 20, 25 minutes, you get to watch them stretch and do a few drills. So they purposely kind of guard it so that you don't know who's winning camp battles unless the coaches tell us. You know, the scrimmages are all behind closed doors. Everything is guarded. So I won't get a ton from that, but maybe we usually get some good information from the coaches and players. So be prepared for that. I will get information and insider stuff. You're only going to find it out here on Locked On BC and on Eagle Insider. Now, BC never gets respect. And it's not just since Jeff Hafley or Steve Adazio or Frank Spaziani. It goes all the way back to Tom O'Brien and before that. When you look at media coverage of the Eagles heading into any season, it seemed like yearly this team is always picked at the bottom of the conference, no matter what conference it was, whether it was the Big East or the ACC. It gets worse with the ACC when all the Tobacco Road columnists all pick against BC. I saw someone put their all ACC selections on, and they didn't put Donovan Azaraku because the guy they picked from NC State had 8.5 sacks in 2 years, which is cool because you know who had 8.5 sacks last year? Donovan Azaraku. So that's the kind of disrespect you expect from Boston College when people just ignore things for their own, because they're Southern schools. That's what they're going to go for, right? One group that I've seen get the most disrespect are the wide receivers. And in the storyline that has been played over and over and over again is they lost Zay Flowers. This is a group that doesn't have any answers to losing Zay Flowers. And you know what? They're right. You lost the best wide receiver in your school's history. You're never going to be able to replace that one-to-one. But to put every single, like Athlon, I saw David Hale, I've seen different groups, different papers put this group at the bottom of the ACC. And I don't think that's fair. And I'll explain why. So Zay Flowers, he had about 70 catches for 11 touchdowns last year, or 80 catches. BC had a chance to go out into the transfer portal and try to replace him. I feel like they did. And no, they didn't get Zay Flowers, but they got somebody that a lot of folks are really excited about, and a guy who has proven it, Ryan O'Keefe. Now, I would put Ryan O'Keefe up against many different wide receiver units. I'm not going to say Florida State, but this is a guy that had 150 catches over 2 seasons. It's like you're not replacing Zay Flowers with potential. You're not replacing Zay Flowers with a guy that, he was good, but we haven't seen him play yet. You're replacing him with a guy who Hafley just said, and I've heard other non-BC people, so it's not just a coach thing, say that has better speed straightaway than Zay Flowers. Not side to side. You're replacing him with Zay. So Zay's gets replaced by him. And then you have guys that have shown it. Jaden Williams, Dino Tomlin, and Joseph Griffin. Joseph Griffin played hurt last year. I get it. But Jaden Williams has some experience. Dino Tomlin, we've seen him. I don't see this unit as the worst in the ACC. You have your top level guy. That's one thing that they're going to look at, right? You have Ryan O'Keefe. You have your potential. Like they always talk about, like if you look at like these positional groups, they do say like in other units, like this guy hasn't done anything yet, but he has the potential to. But they don't use that for BC. They just say they don't have guys that do it, which is, I think, a great double standard that a lot of these people do. But they're not giving it to a healthy Joe Griffin, right? We saw potential of what he could do last year. He can do it. So I think the wide receiver group of, if any position I would say BC I'm worried about, this would be near the bottom. Give me more like the defensive backs, maybe the linebacker unit in terms of concerns. But the wide receiver group, I think Darryl Wyatt did a nice job of replacing Zay Flowers, and I think they've got the depth and talent to be really good this year. I don't think this is a group that I would be all that worried about. And that's my final thoughts on that. Now, again, we're daily again, folks. So we'll be back again tomorrow. I'm most likely going to do this in the morning every day through most of August. We'll be going back to recording live at night as we get closer to the end of the month and into September. But make sure you subscribe and head over to Eagle Insider. If you are looking for like a comprehensive preview of everything, I put together an article. It's right on the right-hand side of the site that I've linked everything that me and Mitch have written, both free and VIP, become a VIP member, cheap plug, about this program. So check it out. You got team previews, you have positional previews, you have opponent previews, you have all our thoughts and interesting tidbits that we've come up with. It's all in one spot. So make sure you go there, bookmark that, check it out as much as you can, and follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. I'm the editor over there at Eagle Insider. Hope you guys enjoy all the work that we do over there. Thank you all so much. I'll see you all again tomorrow for another episode. Thanks again.